What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Sixth Borough Sports Podcast. It has been a hell of a weekend to kick off March Madness. And to break it all down with me, I have my dear friend Justin Rubin on, a recurring guest. You guys will remember him from a couple weeks ago. Justin, how are we feeling after the St. John's victory last night, man? That was some theatrics.
Yeah, I'm feeling good, honestly. I was a little skeptical of St. John's coming into the tournament. I mean, I thought that, coming out of the Big East tournament, destroying UConn in that finals wasn't really a game. I had some confidence, but I wasn't sure how they'd match up against teams that they didn't face outside of the Big East. And so far after that performance last night, it's clear that they, are a contender for a national championship. And this next Duke game is going to be really interesting and a real test to see who they really are. But right now, I mean, they're playing like a national championship contender. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with obviously NIL, which is a separate conversation. But I think Pitino's just unbelievable as a coach, which I want to hear your thoughts about him and how he's been able to kind of turn everything around in like 2 years.
I mean, he really has been the difference, right? Like for a while, it's St. John's really was the bottom of the Big East for no lack of way to describe it. It's just they were not a good college basketball program for a long time, and they tried to be with the Champagny twins and all those guys, but it just never really worked out under Mike Anderson, whoever else they had there. Chris Mullen just wasn't a good enough coach. Rick Pitino has turned St. John's into a national brand. They used to be exclusively in the Big East for at least a long time, at least since I've really been following college basketball, but Rick Pitino has turned them into a true national brand. And if they are able to make it to the Final Four, I don't see why they couldn't win a national championship. Like you, I was a little skeptical going into the Big East tournament. I thought UConn is going to have their way with them. I think UConn is going to be furious that they lost the Big East regular season title on the last day of the season when they choked against Creighton, which Greg McDermott retiring today. Honestly, good.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of Creighton being good.
I know. He's done a good job.
One less team for us to contend with in the Big East. But I thought UConn was going to go into the Big East tournament and just decimate everyone by 50. Like, I legitimately thought it was going to be like that. And for St. John's to beat UConn the way they did, like you said, it wasn't a game. From the opening tip, St. John's was imposing their will all over UConn. And that carried over into the first round. They had no problems with University of Northern Iowa. And then they looked like they were going to run away from Kansas. But Kansas finally decided that they wanted to try and actually play some basketball in the last 8 minutes of the game. And it just shows you how good Darren Peterson is when he actually has the time and space to operate. But the rest of Kansas, just for the first 32 minutes of that game, looked like they wanted nothing to do with being there. And I also wasn't expecting St. John's to be chucking up threes like they were the Warriors. I mean, I think they had like 28 three-point attempts in the first half or something like that, which was
ugly basketball.
And it went like a full 5 minutes with each team just bricking every shot they made. Like no one was making layups, no one was hitting threes. First half was a bit of a rough watch. The second half, they pull away, they get an 18-point lead, and Kansas ties it with what was it, 9 seconds left in the game or so, and Bill Self realizing that, I have 5 fouls to give. I'm going to foul and take time off the clock. And then Kansas kind of screwed themselves because the first 2 fouls towards the end of the game, they just fouled St. John's immediately. They didn't let any time come off the clock. And I would imagine that if there was 2 more seconds taken off the clock and you give Dylan Darling 2 seconds instead of 4 seconds to work with, St. John's doesn't win this game or it's going to overtime.
Yeah, he's not getting to the rim from where he was taking the ball out with that time. So, yeah, I agree.
I mean, they legitimately look dangerous. If they're going to be able to hit threes at a 35% clip, if Zuby is going to be as dominant as he was yesterday, he was by far the best player on the floor for both teams. Like he was doing everything. He proved why he was the defensive Big East Player of the Year and the Big East Player of the Year overall. He was all over the court. He was blocking shots. He was disrupting passes to the rim. He was doing everything.
Yeah.
How well do you think he's going to be matching up with Duke's front court? Because they have one of the best front courts in basketball, but again, they also played a weak ACC all year, and they fattened up on a weak ACC the entire season.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think the way St. John's is playing, the way Rick Pitino's coaching right now, I think they could beat Duke. I think if they shut down Boozer, it's their game. And they know what they're going to do. They've been scouting them all year, even if they haven't played them. They know what they're doing. He has a great staff. They're going to come prepared. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I looked at the spread before. I think they're favored by 6.5. I believe.
Duke is?
Yeah, 6.5. Which it'll be interesting, but
that's a heavy line. I thought that it was going to be more like 2.5, 3.5.
Yeah,
it could have even been a pick 'em, to be honest. 6.5 is a lot of points.
I think right now, St. John's is so confident after coming off that game against UConn in the Big East Tournament Championship. The first game was like a warm-up game for them against Northern Iowa. This Kansas game is a huge confidence booster. And right now, I don't think they're scared of Duke at all. I think they're looking at it as just like, we're playing Duke. That's it. Let's fuck them up. Let's do this. And that's what's going to happen. I really think they're going to come out running and gunning. And I don't know if this is going to come down to players or coaching experience, because Shire's a great coach, but when you put up Shire against the experience of Rick Pitino, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to get out coached. And I think it might come down to that. But I
have a feeling that Coach K is going to make a phone call to Shire.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this is what I did when we played him back in the Christian Leitner days. This is what he's going to be doing. So he's going to have Coach K in his back pocket telling him everything that Pitino is going to throw at him too. So that's definitely something to be considered.
It's going to be interesting.
Going back to that 6.5 point spread.
Yeah.
To me, that just screams trap line. I feel like the public is going to be all over St. John's to cover that spread, and Vegas is going to see that, and the line's going to move as we get closer to game time. I truly think that seems like a trap line, which makes me want to pick Duke. I don't think at this point, I think Duke is very well able to lose this game. I think St. John's is absolutely they could win a national championship at this point. But a spread like that, it seems like a trap to me. I'm smelling some bait here.
We'll see. If St. John's, they got to take a game by game, but if they come out of this game, I believe they play the winner of Michigan State,
UConn,
which would be an insane rematch. And then the winner of that, I'm assuming, with the Final Four.
Yes.
And at that point, it's anyone's game to win. And, the East is the hardest region this year by far. So,
without a doubt, I've been calling it the region of doom, death, and despair. And it's really lived up to the hype, especially with all the coaches that we have in the East. Shire, Pitino, Izzo. I almost said Rizzo. Izzo, Hurley, Mick Cronin too, the Dickhead Bowl last night.
I hate him so much.
I had UCLA upsetting UConn because UConn just hasn't been playing well.
Yeah.
Mick Cronin is just such an angry little man.
He's just... That's what he is. Yeah. I look at him and I look at Kevin Willard and I'm like, I don't know who I dislike more. I think Willard, but I don't know. It's tough, but I think... Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think I'm looking at games I've always been excited for, basketball matchups and NBA, college. I can't remember a game I've been more excited for than this Duke St. John's game. This game is going to be a generational matchup, in my opinion.
I think between Arizona and Arkansas and Duke St. John's, it's probably the best matchup that we are getting in the Sweet 16, which we can get into the matchups in a little bit. I have that in our talking points to go over. I think what is probably going to happen is St. John's and UConn both win just to get round 4 of UConn St. John's, because I think the ratings there would go nuts. I think that would be one of the most viewed Elite 8 games of all time.
It would be.
Or for round 4, especially when that Rick Pitino and Dan Hurley do not like each other. They're pretty open that they aren't on the best of terms.
The game's in D.C. also, so you can imagine St. John's come Friday night, that whole arena is going to be red. They're traveling down there for that game, 100%.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's going to be a home game for them.
Yeah. And also, just to hit on your Kevin Willard point, I'm always going to have a soft spot for him just because he did bring that championship back to Seton Hall. But it's also it is catch-22 because he kind of left us not in the same way that he left Maryland, but his foot was already out the door going into the tournament that year, and Seton Hall just didn't show up against TCU, and we haven't been back to the tournament since. I thank him for training up Shaheen Holloway and being an actually good coach. I'm hoping that, and not to get on my Seton Hall soapbox here, but I'm hoping that seeing how good Shaheen was able to turn this team around with very limited resources, I hope the university's like, all right, we actually have to give him a budget to work with.
Yeah, you just got to recruit.
Yes. But I do want to get into the other games. Vanderbilt, Nebraska, that might have been a top 3 college basketball game, tournament game of all time.
You're gonna get mad. I didn't even watch it.
You didn't watch it. Okay. Did you at least see the ending?
All I know is there's just so many games. It's hard to keep up with, but I'm pretty sure the kid on Vanderbilt, I don't know who he is. I'm pretty sure he's an NBA prospect, though. He looks like it, at least.
Tanner?
He missed the winner, right? Is that what happened?
That ball was about 2 quarters, about 50% in the rim and bounced out. That it was Butler Gordon Hayward 2.0.
I might have to go back and watch the last the last second half at least.
Yeah, last 30 seconds.
Okay.
The last Nebraska possession going straight up. They hit the layup.
Well,
and then with 2 seconds, they drive down the court. He heaves it 5/8 of the court, and it literally banks off and in and out.
My God. Was it like the Santa Clara, Kentucky ending? Did you watch that the other day?
Yes, I did watch that too. We're going to get into that too. The Santa Clara, Kentucky game, because I had Santa Clara with the upset in my bracket. And of course, like I'm jumping up and down, like thinking there's no way that Kentucky's going down the floor right now and hitting this 0. Like I know it's March, but like Santa Clara just like that kid hit the shot of a lifetime. And like New Jersey native, like, and his brother's actually on the Chargers too. I don't know if you knew that.
I saw him in the stands. Yeah, they kept like panning the video to him.
Adafe Owe, shout out to him. Again, like a dude that shouldn't be leaving New Jersey, because if Seton Hall had any money, they would be able to pay him, and he could be our point guard right now. That game was nuts. And if you had Santa Clara plus 3.5, I'm so sorry. That is such a terrible beat.
And he banked it in from that angle. That's just like the craziest shot possible.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for the Santa Clara fans. That game was a top 3 game of the opening round. Texas is somehow on a run too. Like I thought that they were going to be losing in the play-in game. I don't think Texas is that good, but apparently they are.
Great coach.
Upsetting BYU and then Gonzaga. BYU, I could have seen them upsetting because ever since Richie Saunders went down, BYU has been bad. DeBonsa had a great game. He had like 34 points, but he just couldn't do it all himself. DeBonsa's getting ready for the NBA anyway. He'll be fine. Gonzaga, I did not see coming. I saw Gonzaga as a Sweet 16 contender for sure. And Texas really, like, they did what they needed to do. I don't think they're winning the next round against Purdue. I think Purdue is just too seasoned. They're too veteran. Purdue all of a sudden just turned it on, coming from a 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament and winning it all, beating Michigan. It's I didn't see that happening. I do think we can get back into St. John's a little bit. It's bullshit that St. John's is a 5 seed and Purdue is a 2 seed.
I agree.
Like, are we going to talk about the tournament mattering or not mattering? Because for the Big Ten, it looks like it does, but for the Big East, I get it. It was a weaker conference. And I'm going to stand on this. I do think the Big Ten is very overrated. Like, they haven't won a championship in I don't know how long. It's been 30 years, I'm pretty sure. And they have basically ran the tournament so far. They've all been winning. I just don't think that they're going to be able to compete with the Big 12 or a St. John's or a Duke when they get to that point. I do think UConn ends up beating Michigan State too. I think
so also.
The Big Ten had some pretty favorable matchups because they are the biggest basketball conference in terms of brand names and recognition. But we all know the Big 12 is the better conference. It's the best conference in basketball this year. I think the Big Ten just got some pretty good favoring because of their budgets and their influence within the committee.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking at the bracket, and there's a lot of great matchups coming up. I think you mentioned Texas, Purdue. I mean, my national championship, I picked Michigan to win the whole thing. And I think a lot of people picked that. We're going to see what happens. I don't know. I think it's tough. I've been watching Elliot Cadeau, Lendenberg, and then what is him? I can't even pronounce his name.
I can't pronounce it either.
Whatever, but he's like 7'12" or whatever. He's freaking huge. Dusty May's such a great coach. And right now they just look so tough. And I don't know. I mean, Alabama's got their hands full, but that's going to be a great matchup.
Michigan's defense versus Alabama's offense is going to be very fun to watch.
Yeah. And then
one last game though too.
Yeah.
For one of the top moments, and just Arkansas in general.
I was just going to say Arkansas.
Darius Acuff, he's making his case to be the number one overall pick in the draft. Like I don't think it's even questionable at this point. He's going to go to the Wizards, or he's going to go to the Nets, and he might be a franchise changer. He's incredible. That good.
Yeah.
As in Arizona, like I have to root for Arizona. As you know, I married into the Arizona fandom. My brother-in-law went to Arizona. My wife went to Arizona. My sister-in-law went to Arizona. I have to root for them. So I am now a de facto Arizona fan. I am legitimately scared that Darius Acuff is going to impose his will all over this game. I know Jade Bradley, Big Ten Player of the Year. Arizona, like, they have NBA players all over that roster between Jaden Bradley, Anthony Del Orso, Koa Pete. They are still like who I picked for winning the national title. But Darius Acuff, if he has anything to say about it, this is going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas can pull off an upset in this game. They're that good. Calipari's obviously Calipari. I'm pretty sure Arkansas last year went to the Sweet 16, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and they did not have a good regular season. And they're just that type of team that they don't need to play that great in the regular season or even their conference tournament, even though they won it, to perform well in March Madness, because they've been there, done that. And so I think it's going to be a great matchup.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. I want to acknowledge that the round of 64 in general, I don't know how many of the games you watched, but to me it was kind of trash.
Like, in terms of
we'll get into I'll get into my point here. Like, obviously we had High Point over Wisconsin. Great story. I honestly picked High Point in my bracket over Wisconsin. I was not expecting Chase Johnston to start pulling up from the logo and hitting threes. Like, that was fucking awesome. That was so fun to watch. Obviously, the Kentucky Santa Clara game that we had, VCU beating North Carolina choking. I think Huey Davis is getting fired from UNC after this. Like, that was pretty unacceptable on his part. I know Caleb Willison was out, but I don't know. I think the round of 64 outside of really those games wasn't great, but the round of 32 actually delivered. We saw some of the best round of 32 games that we've seen in a long time. And just to keep going on this point, like, the amount of teams that were winning by like 20 points. Michigan beat Howard by 21 points. Houston beat Idaho by 21 points. Michigan State by 25 points. Illinois by 35 points.
LIU,
Nebraska by 19 points. Arkansas by 19 points. LIU got killed. Who else? I'm only looking on the first day. St. Louis beating Georgia by 30-something points was not on my bingo card. I thought they were going to win.
Got destroyed by somebody also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arizona won by 30-something points. Florida won by 60 points. 59 points, but 60 points. Iowa State, 34 points. Purdue won by 33 points. Wright State took it to Virginia.
The only game that was a close game that I was like, holy shit, was the Siena Duke game. I was thinking Duke was going to lose that game at halftime. I was like, they're losing this game. And then Duke just came back. But, that's what scares me about Duke a little bit too, is like, I feel like they might think they're better than they really are. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that comes with them being Duke.
Yeah.
I think if Siena ended up pulling that game off, for whatever reason, the Siena coach just was like, yeah, I'm not my starters are playing full 40 minutes. And the only reason that any subs came into the game was when the game was out of reach, and he just wanted some guys to get like 10 seconds of play time after the game was already over.
Yeah.
I think if he was actually making some substitutions, maybe he keeps his guys fresh and they do win that game.
Yeah.
We'll never know now, but that was a very questionable decision.
Shout out to him taking the
Yeah.
Syracuse head coaching job.
Yep. Yep. He just got that job today, I think, right?
Yep. Yep. And so did what's his name? The USF coach got the job at Providence.
Oh, he did. I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the USF,
I picked them. I was surprised.
So did I. I thought that they were going to have that classic 6-11 upset that we always see. It seems like the 11 seeds are always really good for whatever reason and understated.
Yeah.
But the biggest point that I really want to pull out of this, and I really want your opinion too. I'm fully convinced now we're never going to see another Cinderella run ever again. Like I just don't think it's happening. I think St. Peter's and I think Florida Atlantic and I think North Carolina are the last that we have seen of any double-digit seeds going on a run or lower seeds like below a 5 seed making it into the Final Four. I'm not considering like Texas a Cinderella. I really don't care that they're an 11 seed. They have the 4th highest budget for NIL in all of college basketball. It's kind of pathetic that they're only an 11 seed. Like with that type of budget, you should be a 3 or above. Like, let's be real here. But the NIL situation, I know you touched on it at the very beginning. You alluded to it at the very beginning. It makes it impossible for these mid majors to actually compete because they're basically acting as feeder programs for the larger schools. Talent isn't retained. This year was the least amount of double-digit seeds that moved on to the round of 32 in 2007 with 4 teams. That's a bad trend, and it's been getting worse every year for the last 3 years. So I want to hear your thoughts on if you do think Cinderella's are.
Yeah, I do think they're dead. I mean, we just saw High Point win, and then they lost. But a school like High Point, if you really follow college basketball, they have money, so they're able to recruit. They can recruit, and a lot of the times, you saw. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he played at Kentucky. Was it something Fletcher, maybe? I don't know, but he played at Kentucky. He transferred to High Point. Calipari was just talking the other day about, giving him props because they played Arkansas and they lost. But,
that was a good game too. Like High Point actually took it to Arkansas. Like there was a legitimate chance that Arkansas was going to lose that game.
Yeah. So I don't think when I say Cinderellas, I mean I think these schools that don't have the budgets. Yeah, that's never going to happen again. So like the St. Peter's, I don't know, like a Bryant, like those types of schools, like you're not going to ever see that again. But like a school that's a mid-major with budgets, like a High Point or a Grand Canyon, like schools that have money, VCU,
Loyola Chicago or VCU.
VCU, in my opinion, like they're in the A10. Like, are they even a mid-major at this point? I don't know in terms of the budget. Like a Dayton, for example, like those types of schools that are kind of like hovering the line of mid-major or like they're just a major, like at that point, because the amount of money.
I would say that the A10 is like a step below the Big East in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah. And then there's different teams within there. Like, you got Rhode Island, who's not on the same level budget-wise as like a NIL budget of like a VCU or a Dayton or even a Duquesne. But yeah, it really varies. But I think in terms of like the traditional 16, no like D2 recruits, like JUCO guys, like you're not going to see that again. You'll see maybe mid-majors that have like former high Power 5 D1 recruits that transferred down. But it's going to be so tough now with the NIL unless they change it and kind of level the playing field.
And it's sad because that's what March Madness is all about. I don't think I've been like, I was so hyped up after Santa Clara hit that go-ahead 3. I was so hyped up when High Point beat Wisconsin because it's like, oh my God, maybe this tournament isn't going to be as chalky as we think it's going to. And outside of really like High Point, it really has been a pretty chalky tournament. We did get some upsets in the round of 32. I mean, Florida getting knocked off last night by Iowa. I did not see that coming at all.
No. Oh, that was a crazy game.
What's his last name with the K? On Iowa.
On Iowa. Fuck. The point guard or no? Stutz?
Sturts. Yeah.
Yeah, he transferred from a D2.
I mean, the fact that he was playing D2 is crazy. That dude can hit shots. Like
Incredible.
he is a dude. Yeah,
I
Bennett Sturts was awesome. Alvaro Fogueras hitting the go ahead game winner. And Florida was basically the hottest team in the country at this point.
I mean,
Even if you saw like John Fanta, he was like, "I guarantee you that Florida's not going to lose this game." Like, do you really see them? And John Fanta like got on camera. He was like, "I'm issuing an apology. Like, sorry, Hawkeyes fans. Like,
shout out.
Yeah, shout out John Fanta, Seton Hall great."
Yeah, I mean, also the other thing that I was thinking too is that these schools like Santa Clara, because when we talk about mid majors and you look at Santa Clara and you look at Jalen Williams, NBA champion on Thunder, Brandon Podolski, both went to Santa Clara in the past like 2 to 3 years. So like, I think it's also cool to see that a lot of these schools now too, they consistently make March Madness. And I think it raises the awareness of the school where they're able to recruit better players where, okay, maybe they don't have the budget, but the players want to get seen. They know they're going to go to a program that's probably going to win their conference every year. And it's going to help them transfer up now with NIL. So Absolutely. It's almost like a jumping, like it's like a foundation for these guys, even if they're not going to get like Power 5 offers immediately. And I think that's another way that, maybe they'll still be able to like stay around and compete just because they're constantly winning.
Especially now that Gonzaga is leaving the West Coast Conference, it's going to be St. Mary's and Santa Clara at the top of that conference every single year. It's going to be them or St. Mary's just basically getting a bid no matter what.
Where's Gonzaga going?
Whatever the Pac-12 is now.
I didn't even know the Pac-12 exists anymore.
Yeah, so the Pac-12, it completely realigned itself with a lot of mid-major teams. I think like the Washington Cougars are still in it.
Is Penn State?
Washington State.
Where's Penn State now?
Penn State's in the Big Ten.
They're still in the Big Ten. Okay.
Yeah.
But UCLA is also in the Big Ten, right?
Yes.
Which makes no sense.
So is Oregon. So is USC's in the Big 12 or Big 10. They're in one of those two. Stanford's in the ACC. The Pac-12 dissolving, I get that they were doing it for TV money, but like the travel strain that you're putting on these kids, it's like Oregon shouldn't be flying to Piscataway to play Rutgers.
Crazy.
And Rutgers should be having to fly to Eugene, Oregon to play. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
That travel schedule makes no sense.
Yeah.
I get they're doing it for the money, but they got to change the conference names from the Big 10 to the Big 20 because there's about like 20 teams in it now.
I saw something the other day. It was great. It was like the worst teams in each conference. You should take all of them and make one shit conference of the worst teams. So you take like Boston College from the ACC, whoever's at the bottom of the Big East. I don't know who it is every year, like Butler or something like that, or like DePaul, and just form.
DePaul was good this year though. Like DePaul, they finished like 5th or 6th in the Big East. Like it was like the first time in like 20 years they didn't finish dead last.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Chris Holtman's got something good going on in Chicago right now for DePaul. Like they were actually kind of decent.
We'll see. Another team that's really good is Illinois.
Yeah. They are a bit of a team that hasn't been talked about. We haven't talked about them yet. They're flying under the radar at the 3 seed. They play Houston next, and I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. I guess we can get into the Sweet 16 matchups now, and we'll get into that. So we can start with the East region. I've already made my thoughts known. I think we're getting a St. John's versus UConn rematch in the Elite Eight. I do think St. John's pulls the upset off, and I think UConn is very focused and that they're going to beat Michigan State. UCLA was going to be a big test for UConn because Mick Cronin is being a little angry elf and really wanted to win that game and just acting like a dickhead.
Mr. Clean. That's what I call him, Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. But I think UConn has their eyes set, even if they're not going to make the Final Four eventually. Like I think they want one more shot at St. John's, and they're going to do everything in their power to get there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm picking St. John's, UConn in that East matchup.
And get some good Big East representation because we couldn't count on Kevin Willard to do that. Going into the South, Iowa versus Nebraska ball and Illinois versus Houston.
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. With the way Iowa's playing right now, they could absolutely beat Nebraska, but I think Nebraska has like the team of destiny written all over them. They never winning a tournament game before. That university's been around for like 120 years or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. If you're a Nebraska fan listening, feel free to correct me.
Cornhuskers.
They've won 2 games, the only 2 games in their university's history this year. And I was watching like the March Madness Instagram account. They posted like all the fan reaction videos, like going alongside like the actual game footage, and like just seeing the elation and the happiness and the pure joy and euphoria that fan base is like going through and being so happy. I hope they win, like, because it's just a great story, and they just, I don't know, they're a fun ass team to watch too.
Yeah. I like them in that matchup too. I think they're hot right now, and I think they have Fred Hoiberg is one of the best coaches in college basketball that I don't think a lot of people talk about enough.
Yep. Hoiberg is that dude, and he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. Like it always seemed like Nebraska was knocking on the door for a long time at being a good program. They just, for whatever reason, poor seeding they just couldn't get it done in the first round. Like I'm pretty sure the last time that Seton Hall had a tournament win back in like 2018, they beat Nebraska first round, and it's been a long time coming for those guys. So I'm happy for them. But I do have Houston coming out of the South region as the South region champs. I think Houston's defense is too good. I think Kingston Flemings is, if Darius Acuff is not going to be the number 1 overall pick, I think it's going to be Kingston Flemings. That dude is an animal. He can make shots from anywhere. He plays great defense. I love Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson's probably my favorite coach in the country. And I think the Houston team is angry. They want some revenge from last year. They want to right the wrongs of them blowing that game against Florida last year. And they're out to take no prisoners. So I do have Houston beating Illinois.
I agree with Houston beating Illinois. I love Illinois. If there's any team out there that I want to win the national championship besides St. John's, my second team would be Houston. I love Kelvin Sampson. I think he's an unbelievable coach. They don't actually have a huge NIL budget,
which is crazy because they have Tillman Fertitta as like their biggest donor.
Yeah,
which is their stadium is named after him, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, I love Houston. I love the head coach, and I think this could be their year as well. But we'll see what happens. That's going to be a really, really good matchup.
Yep. In the West region, we go Arizona versus Arkansas. We were talking about this a little bit before. I have Arizona winning, but I am going to be holding my breath the whole game because this doesn't seem like the typical Coach Cal, like bow out early. This isn't the undefeated Kentucky team from 2012 by any means, but Darius Acuff, anytime you have him on the floor, he is a threat to score from anywhere. So while I have Arizona winning, I will take Arkansas with the points if they are underdogs. I don't know what the spread is at this point, but I would definitely take
Arizona.
Yeah, I'll take Arkansas with the points.
Okay.
But Arizona money line.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with any points. I don't really know how that shit works in betting, but I will go with Arkansas money line. I do think they're going to upset Arizona. I don't have anything against Arizona. I think they're great. I think if you were to look at everybody's brackets in the country, I bet you Arizona's probably like the top, like, I don't even know, but top percentage of picks of national.
It's about the second, with Duke being number 1.
Okay.
I saw when I did my bracket, it's like Arizona's the second pick.
I mean, they're great. They're great. They're probably the best Arizona team we've seen in a long time, if not maybe ever. But I got Arkansas upsetting them in that game.
Okay. That's fine. I'm glad we are disagreeing on this, though.
Yeah. I disagree every now.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas versus Purdue. I think Purdue runs away with this. I don't even think this is going to be a game. I think this nice run that Texas has had is coming to an end here. Purdue, I think they're playing with no pressure at all. Like, they weren't even supposed to be a 2 seed coming into this. And I think they're just playing free and without the pressure of them being a 1 seed and really expecting to be contending for a national championship. I think Braden Smith, he is a top 5 point guard in the country at this point, especially now that he just set the NCAA all-time assist record. Purdue's going to be a tough out. I think they have the guys to actually go to the Final Four. So I have Purdue winning by 15. I don't think this game's going to be close.
I got Purdue also. Actually, I'm looking at the spread right now. Purdue minus 6.5. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they're going to beat them by at least 10 to 15 points.
6.5 seems kind of light. I would imagine that it would have been like a 9.5 point spread going into it. I get it. It's a Sweet 16, but the two teams in talent level, they're not close.
Yeah, I don't see it. I'm going to agree with you on that one. I got Purdue.
And in the Midwest region, Michigan versus Bama. Now, I know you have Michigan winning it all. I think this Bama offense, if they're clicking, they can beat any team in the country. It's like what we've seen every single year out of Alabama and Nate Oates, like that Brandon Miller team. Like I thought, had the opportunity to win the whole tournament, and their offense wasn't I forget who they lost to, but it was just their offense was contained. They don't play good enough defense. I think Bama is going to end up covering whatever the spread it is, but Michigan is ultimately gonna win this game. Yaxel Landenborg, every time that dude is driving to the hoop, you better get out of the way. He's an animal.
I don't know how he only went to University of Alabama, Birmingham, but insane. Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at the spread, Michigan minus 10.5, which I'm surprised by.
That is a way larger than I thought it was going to be. I thought that would have been like a 5.5 point to a 3.5 point spread.
That'll probably change too. But yeah, I mean, Michigan, like I said, that's my national championship team. Alabama's great. I don't know if Aiden Holloway is going to play. He was just caught with 19 million pounds of weed. I saw the photo. He looks like freaking El Chapo.
Well, from Alabama PD's perspective, he might as well have been El Chapo with the pound of weed that they found in his car. They're acting like he's some sort of kingpin.
Yeah, it's insane, and I don't understand why he needs to be, selling weed with that NIL package he got, but yeah. Whatever. Shout out to Aiden Holloway, and Nate Oates is a goat. He let someone kill somebody on his campus, so he's going to let someone get away with a little bit of weed.
Yeah, Brandon Miller had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
he just only gave him the gun.
Yeah, he just gave it to him. That doesn't mean you're associated. But let's move on from that one, and we'll move on to Tennessee, Iowa State, and Iowa State is another. And honestly, sleeper, to call it a 2 seed a sleeper is kind of crazy, but I really do think they are a sleeper because they are freaking good. And I mean, yeah, Iowa State is nasty.
Their defense is insane. I mean, Josh Jefferson spraining his ankle 3 minutes into the round of 64. And then they go and beat Kentucky by 20 in the next round. They don't even need him. And Josh Jefferson's their leading point scorer, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Iowa State, their defense is great. Their roster is deep. Everyone can score. I have them coming out of the Midwest region. I do think that they end up upsetting Michigan in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know if Josh Jefferson is coming back for this game. I don't think they're going to need him. I think Tennessee is a good team. They just upset Virginia, but I also don't think Virginia was that great. I think that the ACC was a pretty weak conference this year. It was really Duke and then everyone else. Yeah, I think Iowa State wins this game. What's the spread that you have here, if you can say it?
We have Iowa State minus 4.5. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
actually.
That's accurate. Yep. Pretty interesting.
Now knowing what we know and seeing what the Sweet 16 is right now, I want to know if you have any updates to your Final Four, because I have one update to mine.
Let's hear yours first.
So my original Final Four was Duke and Iowa State and Arizona and Houston on the other side. And then it was going to be Arizona beating Iowa State in a rematch of the Big 12 semifinal, which until Vandy and Nebraska was the best college game of the year. And Arizona wins by 4 to win the national championship. Now, after seeing this all play out, I have St. John's beating Duke and then beating UConn, going to the Final Four. I think they are playing the most unstoppable brand of basketball in college right now. And I still have Arizona winning. I have St. John's losing to Iowa State in the Final Four. Just because of all the reasons that we mentioned before with Iowa State. I think Josh Jefferson will be back by then. I think Iowa State is Just them being a 2 seed, like they could have arguably been a 1 seed over Florida. They're just that good. So if there's any changes for you, I definitely would love to hear it.
Honestly, this is crazy as a St. John's fan, but I have Duke beating St. John's in that game.
Okay.
And, I'm not afraid to admit it. Going into the tournament, that's kind of what I thought. I thought St. John's would make it to that game. Now looking at it, I think St. John's does win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they make it to the Final Four and they beat UConn. Other than that, honestly, I don't really have any other changes. Let's see. My pick. It's crazy. I can't even read how the brackets work. Oh my God. Final Four. Well, I got Michigan over Purdue.
Right.
And then I have Duke over Houston. So technically that would now be St. John's over Houston.
Okay.
And then St. John's versus Michigan in the national championship, and then Michigan winning. And I still think Michigan wins the whole thing, but I think they can play St. John's in the national championship and beat them.
Okay. Love that.
But I don't know. We'll see. I really do think that, like, I'm not even like riding the St. John's train because, like, we're from here and they're like, I really think they're that good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm by obligation a St. John's hater. Like, I don't want to be putting them in my Final Four. I wish they got knocked out in the round of 64. It would be a lot easier because I've noticed that in the last couple weeks, especially on, like, if you listen to like WFAN or anything like that, there have been a lot of bandwagon St. John's fans coming out of the woodwork. I have a lot of close friends that are actually like went to St. John's, and I respect them because they were still going to games when they were bad. And now it's like all of a sudden, like New York is like acting like they've been behind St. John's this whole time. You got Spike Lee showing up at St. John's games like he actually knows what he probably doesn't even know who Zuby Ejiofor is.
No,
like
idea.
All these dudes on WFAN talking about, like, dude, you probably did not watch a game of St. John's basketball until the Big East tournament final. Like, let's be very real here. Like, you guys are just saying what you're saying for clicks, acting like you're such a big supporters. You guys aren't. We've been watching the St. John's teams from the beginning of the year. We knew that they were always going to be a Sweet 16 and above contender. I don't think we expected them to be playing this dumb.
And I actually didn't think they were going to be as good this year as they were last year, watching them like halfway through the season, seeing them lose RJ Lewis and those guys. I was like, okay, they're not as good. And then they're proving that they're better than they were last year.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Hopkins has completely stepped up. I didn't realize how large of a human being Bryce Hopkins is.
He might be an NBA player. I think
he is absolutely going to carve himself out, at least a rotational role in the NBA from the way he has played, not only in this tournament, but the entire season.
That's the guy that I look at. I'm like, Dylan Brooks. I don't know why. Yeah. He plays like him.
He's just so big. He can make shots. Like,
shoots threes well.
Great on defense.
He's athletic. Sneaky athletic.
Yeah. And Zuby is probably playing himself into a first-round pick. I thought he was going to be undersized as a center, but, like, he has a jump shot. He can take threes.
Yeah, he's really
in this modern-day NBA, if you have a 5 that can shoot threes, you have room for anywhere.
And
on an NBA roster.
I've noticed with Zuby as well, like, he's gotten better when they're trying to break a press. You can give him the ball to bring the ball up and break the press on his own. And for a guy 6'9", 6'10" to do that in the NBA is huge.
Yeah, and maybe they just move him to a 4. Like, it's him going up against Giannis or someone like Wemby. As good as he is defensively, I don't think you're stopping guys like that.
No.
But he can absolutely be a rotational, like, back, like, top end of the bench 5 or 4 in the NBA. And he's really proving it these last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. The more games they win, the more recognition and, awareness he's going to get. And I think that he's definitely, like you said, carving himself into a legit NBA player. So
this weekend is going to be interesting for me. I'm probably not going to be able to do a podcast. Maybe Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to be on vacation, and I'm getting back the night of the Final Four. So I don't even think I'm going to be, like, able to watch it when it happens.
Where are you headed?
Wife and I are going to St. Martin.
Nice.
And get some actual sun because this weather has been so bipolar. Every day it's either 70 degrees and sunny, or it's like today, it's rainy, cold, like almost snowing and just raw. We are so ready to get the hell out of here and get some sun.
I'm also monitoring tickets in DC because I was planning on going there this weekend anyway. So I'm like, shit, that'd be
Very
sick
nice.
to go to.
That would be a ton
But
of
those
fun.
tickets are ridiculously expensive.
I'm sure it's like $600 just to get into the building.
It is. It is. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Plus, like lodging and stuff, like you might as well like just
Go to St. Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, this was a ton of fun, Justin. Thank you for hopping on. Always down to talk ball with you on here. You know that. I know you just got done running the New York Half Marathon. If you want to tell the people a little bit about that and your cost for running, I'll let you take the floor here.
Yeah, definitely. So I ran the New York City Half last weekend. That was absolutely brutal. Trained for it, at least I thought I did, but didn't really feel properly for it. But yeah, each year the New York City Half and even the full New York City Marathon gets more selective to get into. I think some crazy stat this year was it was harder to get into the 2025 New York City Marathon than it was to get into Harvard, which is insane. That's because there's so many people who apply.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to really get in through charity, or you can qualify through running, but I'm not really looking here to run a sub 6-minute mile.
For 26.2 miles is ridiculous.
So I discovered this organization, Care in Kind, which is basically it provides services for families dealing with, a family member who has either Alzheimer's or dementia, which is something that's close to my heart, which is something that my dad's dealing with, which has been really hard on, me and my family, just how close I am with him. Raising money for an organization that really means so much to me was huge, and being able to run for that organization was even bigger. I think collectively we raised over $100,000, which was amazing.
Hell yeah.
And that helped me gain automatic entry into the 2026 New York City Marathon, which I'm going to be raising money again. I'll put out the link again. Any amount that people donate goes a huge way. Essentially, money goes towards research, but also just every family can get support, which is the biggest thing. It's the hardest thing is for the family to really deal with resources or what to do, because every day is different. So this Care in Kind organization really takes that money and provides the resources that families need to just tackle everything on a day-to-day basis. So even $1 helps. So I'll make sure to share the link, and make sure you guys check out Care in Kind. It's a really good cause.
Justin, thank you for doing that. Very noble cause. I'm sure your dad is very proud of you. I will have the link in the description when you send that my way. We can blast this out. We can start getting donations for you for the New York City run, for the New York City full marathon. You guys will want to donate to that. It's a great cause.
Yeah, and I'll wear a 6 Borough Sports logo.
I will make sure to get that for you for that run.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Hell yeah. That'd be sick.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, man. Thank you so much for this. This was a great time.
Yes, sir.
Again, look out for the link, guys, on where to donate. It's a great cause. You should highly consider doing it.
Yep. And shout out to
Justin. Yeah. Shout out to St. John's. Go represent the Big East.
They win. Well, you got next podcast. You got to wear the same hat, but it has to say St. John's Hoops on it.
I'm gonna have to go to local hoops and go pick one up. I got to find if they have a store for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to go see them during the Big East. Oh, you did?
I went to the local hoop store. It was sick.
I'm so glad I got here when I did. I literally told my wife middle of the day one day. I was like, I'm just going and then I ended up going to the Big East tournament that day and working from the Big East tournament the whole day.
Well, it'll be good games this weekend. We'll catch up and talk more about it.
You too, brother. Talk later.
Be good.
Bye.
Peace.